Hello and welcome to Star Wars Obsessed. I'm Richard, and here for the first time on video is my husband, Gary. Say hi, Gary.
Hi.
Today we are going to discuss Star Wars The Force Awakens. We watched it today. We got up very early. We actually watched a 6 a.m. showing of the movie. So we had to wake up at 5 a.m. So it was dark and it was really early. But the one thing that was really nice about it was there was hardly anybody in the theater. So it made for a great viewing. So that being said, we're going to talk about the movie, our thoughts about the movie, and, there's going to be spoilers. So just put that out there. There will be spoilers, probably lots of spoilers. So, okay. You go first. What do you think of Star Wars The Force Awakens?
I thought it was great that they returned to more of an organic feel or a practical feel. The movie didn't feel polished CGI. It felt like I was actually watching people interact with real things.
Yeah.
That was refreshing.
That's the one thing I was thinking about as I was watching the movie, that the people were actually in an environment like on the planet with the forest and the snow, as opposed to the prequels where everything looked all CG and polished and pretty, and you could tell they're not even involved in the environment.
Yeah, I felt like you as the viewer could actually be in the movie. You could be in that world.
Yeah.
You could place yourself there. Whereas with the prequel trilogies, it felt like you were watching a big cartoon.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the original trilogy, where they had actual location. But speaking of that, I couldn't help but during the movie see all of the what do you call that? The throwbacks, the callbacks to the original trilogy. Like when Poe Dameron gives the map to BB-8, kind of reminded me of Princess Leia giving the Death Star plans to R2-D2.
Yeah.
And then he gets captured, kind of like Princess Leia gets captured. What was in it? Oh, the flight on the Millennium Falcon when they were trying to escape, and then Finn had to go down there and shoot the cannons at the TIE fighters. It kind of reminded me of when they were escaping the Death Star and they had the fight with Luke and Han and Leia and all them, and then even when Finn sat at the that chess table,
and
then he accidentally turns it on, and then you see the chests and everything. So you can't help but think, oh, okay, Star Wars. And that was kind of a lot, and the planet itself. I forget what they call it, the Starkiller planet.
So I wanted to ask you about that, because didn't you tell me that one of the original names for Luke was Starkiller?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but I just thought it was interesting that we had another Death Star type planet. It's kind of like, okay, this is good, but we're kind of getting a lot of familiar things happening in the movie, and not that it bugged me. It's just, what was it about? Was it, were they trying to say, hey, you remember that? This is what made Star Wars great. So we're gonna throw that in there to remind you that that's what was great about it. We're just gonna do it again,
right? Because we didn't have any of that with the prequel trilogy. It was only the original trilogy.
Yeah, I think there was a few things.
They showed us the plans for something like
the Death Star plans. Yeah.
But they never actually had that in the original.
But it was still kind of a throwback. Oh, look, remember the Death Star? But this one, the structure of the movie kind of reminded me of Star Wars.
Yeah. And what about Rey? I mean, I thought from the beginning that she was going to end up being Luke's daughter. I know they didn't say anything, but
Well, they're kind of alluding to something like that, but since she has
the Force, and she has the memories, and
yeah, so they left an interesting mystery with that, and that's one thing I really liked about The Force Awakens is that they that not everything is resolved, especially the way it ended. It ended, very open, and that's what was really great,
and that they didn't feel that they had to explain everything, that you could infer, that the audience could be intelligent enough to make their own understanding,
Yeah.
as opposed to let's spell everything out,
Right.
i.e. midichlorians.
Right. Which fortunately there's none of that.
And speaking of that, I really liked that they kind of made the Force go back to not being a scientific kind of thing, but more of a spiritual
Right.
thing. It felt very natural.
Right.
That the story felt like it was just that side of the story just made that kind of sense.
Right. I agree.
What did you think of Han dying? But they actually killed Han.
Yeah, big spoiler. Well, the one of the main thing is that Kylo Ren turns out to be the son of Han and Leia, which my jaw dropped. I was just like, what? And it made for great story and
suspense
and the drama,
the tension,
and it gave it depth and emotion.
See, I actually did not see the death coming, and the reason is they gave us enough of those moments with Kylo Ren where he was questioning his darkness.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that actually thought, okay, well maybe that will be something that has to be resolved, but I didn't see him actually killing Han. So when that happened, I was like, oh my god, that actually... And that was really good on the storyteller's part, that they left that open to us.
Yeah, that really kind of upset me, though. I was really bummed that they had to kill Han Solo. And I do remember, though, back in the 80s for Return of the Jedi, that Harrison Ford actually asked George Lucas to kill Han Solo. But George didn't want to do it. He didn't want to leave the movie on a downer. But I guess this is a way of
atoning for that.
Atoning for that, I suppose. But it's kind of a drag. It was great. I just loved seeing Han and Leia, and then Chewbacca. Chewbacca's there,
and we got
C-3PO and R2-D2
of C-3PO and
R2-D2. It was great seeing them, and it was just really sad. It just really, I don't know. I was like, did they really have to kill off Han Solo so soon? Like, maybe there could have been more,
Yeah.
More, Kylo Ren could be struggling more, and Han, could try and get him back to the good side, So they kind of, I don't know. I love Star Wars so much, so it was hard to see one of my favorite characters get killed. If he got killed, I don't know, because he fell. We never actually saw what happened to his body.
But the lightsaber went through his chest. I mean,
well, I don't know. In these movies, you never know. But I read another thing that was, I really liked that they had subtle mysteries like C-3PO, how he has a red arm. Like, why does he have a red arm? How did he get that red arm? Are they going to tell us how he got the red arm? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I especially like the realism with having stormtroopers, not CGI clones.
Yeah,
that felt really, really good.
I kept thinking, there's always that joke that, stormtroopers can't see, they can't shoot because they say it's because of the helmets. Because, how can they see? But what would have been really cool is if we had at least one time where we saw
a first
had stormtrooper view. And maybe we can actually see what they see. Maybe the black area is actually a monitor, and it actually shows everything. Like it's a camera that goes out like that, and so we don't have to go. Well, how do you see through those things?
Oh,
so that would have been cool.
So then I'm upset about. I really don't like that the stormtroopers are conditioned. I didn't like the clones were programmed. I don't like that the Stormtroopers are programmed, because then the Stormtroopers aren't bad. And so now you're going to feel bad when I see them getting killed, because it's not their fault. You know, they're not really bad guys. They're programmed.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel bad because it's like, that's now a waste of life.
Right.
You know, at least if they were bad guys, if they had actually signed up to be a part of, the First Order, I could accept the Resistance killing them.
And there was a lot, you know,
They
because
killed-
the Starkiller planet got destroyed, so obviously a lot of the Stormtroopers were destroyed.
They're innocent.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention the lightsaber duel between Kylo Ren and Rey. Is that her name?
Yes.
It's Rey, right?
That felt like a throwback to the original and not the hyper-polished fight.
Right.
Of the
That's
prequel.
what I was thinking too. It's like they were actually, you know, they were actually struggling and they were sweating and they were in the environment, like go through the trees and
And
everything.
it didn't feel like a super choreographed. It felt like a
Right.
natural fight
And they were
between two people.
They were falling. Yeah, they made it look like it was difficult and it was hard to do. Not like in even in like the Revenge of the Sith, where, you know, Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting, and it was just like this. They're just, you know, flailing away with their lightsabers, and it looks fantastic. But then there doesn't seem to be any kind of suspense to it. But this one, in this between Kylo Ren and Rey, oh my god,
That was really
it
good.
was really well done. It's a good movie.
Lens flares. It's not as bad as J.J. Abrams normally does, but he had to throw them in.
The only time I noticed a lens flare is when he stopped that laser in midair. When Kylo Ren stopped the laser in midair.
It was in the first fight on Jakku, the desert planet, that nighttime. There's lens flares. They're smaller than he usually does, but they're there and they're all over the place. And he did it again in several other scenes. At least it's not, you know, spread out through the entire movie. He didn't do it during daytime scenes. Yeah. It's not as bad as a normal J.J. Abrams movie, but
like Star Trek.
But they are still there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I only noticed the lens flare when Kylo Ren stopped the laser bolt.
Yeah.
And then Finn walked past it, and then the camera crossed it, and it just did this like flash of like lens flare kind of flash with the laser bolt. That's the only time I noticed it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't crazy.
It doesn't distract from the story. It doesn't distract from the movie. It's like he's finally learned his lessons about how to use them. Great, they're nice. They had a little bit of flair to a scene.
Yeah.
But they don't have to take up the entire screen. So that was an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was, I had not seen any of the trailers for the Force Awakens, and so a lot of it was, very fresh for me. So I don't know, since I haven't seen any of the trailers, I don't know what kind of reveals there were in the trailers.
Admiral Ackbar.
Oh my God, that's the other thing is Nine Num and Admiral Ackbar are characters in the movie, and that was really cool.
Yeah. They're in one of the trailers,
okay.
And that was a huge deal. Everyone was screaming, Admiral Ackbar! Because I did watch trailers and read comments and stuff, kind of as a way to kind of screen to make sure that he knew what to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember people were commenting on Admiral Ackbar's in it.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I didn't see any of the trailers, because if I had, I would be sitting in this movie going, "Oh my God, okay, so like when Poe and Finn finally reunite, that's in the trailer. It's like you see it in the trailer, and then when Finn and Poe, they're on Jakku and they separate, and here I'm thinking, what did Poe? Oh my God, did they kill off Poe? That's so crazy. That's pretty brave. But did they kill him off? Because I hadn't seen any of the trailers, so I didn't know anything about it. And he wasn't in the movie for the longest time. And when they reunited, and I thought, oh my God, how cool is that? So it's really cool that to not having seen any of the trailers and to just be very surprised. And I don't know, did they? So I suppose that Kylo Ren is the son of Luke and Leia would have been a major spoiler, and they didn't put that in.
Yeah,
any of the
that's not
trailers.
in any of the trailers.
Yeah, okay.
Not that I remember seeing, and I've seen them all. I really think that they did a good job with the trailers, with the exception of, I guess, like Admiral Ackbar. It depends on whether you really think that that's a spoiler. In terms of plot and stuff, it was really refreshing to see trailers not actually tell the story.
Yeah.
Just show environmental images to put you in the area, so that way you could get an expectation of what you're going to see, but not have any clue as to what the story is.
Yeah.
And
it's a good story too.
I still don't understand not putting Luke on any of the posters, because that would not have actually revealed anything in the story.
Yeah.
I mean, we only get to see him in the last minute of the film.
And he looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Hamill is not aging very well, but they made him look really good in the movie. But it's a good story.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that it dealt with mostly with Han and Leia and Kylo, and the sadness that their son went to the dark side. And it'd be interesting. I'd love to see if in the next movie they do a backstory as to how it happened, how Kylo got tempted, to the dark side. That would be interesting.
I imagine that's probably going to be the center point, especially now that we know that he was being mentored by Luke, and now that we've introduced Luke. So I'm sure at some point Luke is going to tell Rey the story.
The flashback. The whole when Rey touched the lightsaber, and then there was the visions that she saw. That was pretty amazing. That it really brings you in. It's got a really strong emotional appeal in the movie, unlike the very sanitized the prequels. There's no goofy characters like Jar Jar Binks. There's nothing like that, and that's what's great about it. I thought it was interesting that the humans can understand BB-8, the beeps in the, because I know in the original trilogy that the humans didn't understand R2. They either C-3PO translated or they had a translator. So I thought it was fascinating that they could understand, and was it only Rey who could understand BB-8? No, Poe could understand BB-8 too. Yeah, okay.
And Rey.
Yeah.
And I don't think Finn.
Maybe not Finn. Well, he was talking to him, remember?
But that doesn't mean he necessarily understood what he was saying.
And then Rey could understand Chewbacca, which is interesting. You
think that's the Force?
Could be. But
it was interesting how fast she progressed through the powers. If she is Luke's daughter, she did. It didn't feel wrong. It felt it was okay, and she still stumbled through the powers. It wasn't like she was a perfect master at it, but she still seemed to be able to pick up on things intuitively.
Oh, see, that's another part of the story is why was Rey left on Jakku? So they got a lot, lot of like story elements that will eventually, hopefully, be resolved, and that's what's really great, because this is the first part, and it built up a lot of interest. That there's more to the story. Yeah. So like again, the callbacks. I just thought of this to the cantina. Mm-hmm. When they went to that one planet, I don't remember the name of the Force planet, and they went into that building, and it kind of reminded me of the cantina on Mos Eisley, and there was the band playing the song. Unfortunately, it sounded a bit too reggae, so I was kind of annoyed by that. I'm like, okay, but it was good, still good.
It was a good start.
So, Gary, what do you think of Star Wars: The Force Awakens?
I thought it was excellent. It definitely, and I mean, I'm young enough that I did think that the prequel trilogy was good until all the flaws started to glare at you. So who knows? Maybe that'll come later. But
I know.
my first reaction to it is it captured the spirit, the essence, the vibrancy of and the realism of the original trilogy. So I felt like we were going back to that.
Yeah.
And so I'm optimistic that it's now actually in good hands, especially because it's been taken away from George Lucas.
Yeah. I'm torn because when the Phantom Menace came out, I loved it. I loved the Phantom Menace, but then after a while, I just grew to hate it because I realized how. I think it was because we hadn't had a Star Wars movie for such a long time that the Phantom Menace come out. I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, and then a Star Wars movie, and then watching it, and oh my god, this is great. I love it. I love it. Then after a while, thinking, wow, that movie was terrible. And you know, and I'm feeling the same way with you, is that my initial reaction for The Force Awakens is that it's great. I love it. But is it going to stand the test of time?
I'm more optimistic about this.
Yeah.
I
hope so. But, it was thoroughly entertaining. It was thoroughly entertaining, and I enjoyed it immensely. And the realness about it, the real environments, just like the original trilogy.
And the practical effects.
And the practical effects just made it feel more real, less CG.
Hiring a cast to play Stormtroopers.
Yeah.
That was nice.
So yeah. It's really good. It's a great movie. So until next time, I'm Richard.
And I'm Gary.
And this is Star Wars Obsessed. Thanks for watching.